Hey guys, what is up and welcome to a new NVIDIA daily update video. So today, let's go over NVIDIA stock. Let's go over what has happened to this stock, what we can expect moving into tomorrow and really the rest of the week, maybe even into next week. I'll give you my thoughts and yeah, let's jump into it. If you enjoyed, please don't forget to hit that like button. This is not financial advice. I am not a financial advisor. And of course, if you enjoy my technical analysis, thoughts on the charts, but you want my updates as the market is trading throughout the trading day, well, I share my thoughts with the members every single day as the market is trading and open for just $3 a month. My YouTube membership, the link is down below. The join button or the link in the description of the video takes you there. Again, just $3 a month gives you access to mainly Tesla, sometimes other stocks as well, or $5 a month gives you access to the second tier, which also includes NVIDIA if you're interested. But jumping into it, NVIDIA closing the day up a nice, humble, we'll say 2% on the day, with the market obviously up a decent amount to more. So definitely a bit of an underperformance day for NVIDIA, but nonetheless, at least up is still up. And we mentioned yesterday how some calls came in, right? And I expected to see closer to $100 per share. That's exactly what we got. We got that reversion to the mean on the 1 hour. And of course, we came up right into that 100 resistance level that we did get rejected by almost to perfection, you can argue, right? We were just 20 cents off roughly. And we obviously fell back down. But on the good news is the fact that you can make an argument that this actually looks like it could be setting up a bit of a bull flag over here. Nice little small bull flag, nice rally into this little bull flag you can see here that's already drawn out, which, if there's some nice follow through tomorrow, potentially even as early as tomorrow, right? We can see some nice follow through. And I actually think it will, because I like the way the 5 minutes looking here, right? Because you can see ever since this topping action over here, it started making lower lows, lower highs. This is a lower low, and then it officially made a higher high. It broke this recent high over here, which means that essentially, simply put, as long as this kind of 97.3-ish region holds, NVIDIA is actually short-term bullish, right? It is short-term bullish, and the next level to look for is going to be on the 1 hour time frame, a break pretty much above $100 per share, right? So going back to the 1 hour time frame, the way I look at it is pretty simple, right? If NVIDIA can break back above $100 per share, I think it'll actually look pretty strong. I think I want to see it turn back into support. So I want to see it kind of, make its way up, stop around here most likely, like 102 or something like that. Right? You can't go too high, unless obviously some news comes out, but you most likely won't go too high. And then it'll most likely come back down, and then it'll probably hover around here for a bit, really show that the stock is turning this 100 level back into support. We then could potentially be printing a potentially smaller looking bullish head and shoulders. Again, this is just thinking into the future, not saying this will happen, just potentially, right? If this plays out the way I'm expecting it to, at least. And then from there, obviously we can start looking for something a little bit more, fruitful, if you will, for the stock moving forward. But essentially, to make it even more simple, the levels to the upside and to the downside are as follows. $100 per share roughly is the first level as a resistance. The bulls want to break above that and turn it back into a support. If they can do that, the next level will be closer to this kind of 105, 106-ish region. Same idea. The bulls want to take that and turn it back into support. And not make it a resistance anymore, the way that it is here, support here, resistance here, right? So they want to go ahead and flip that back into the bullish favor. And then obviously if we break above that, the next level, which would be probably the most important one, will be closer to like this kind of 111 to 114-ish range, that $3 range, which we got rejected at here, right? And that'll be a really big level to break. Now, I believe personally, if NVIDIA can at some point or another finally break back above this region all the way up here, I just mentioned, this kind of 111 to 114, if it can actually break above that, if it can do something like this, whatever the movement ends up being, I don't know, whichever way it decides to do it, or however, the point is that if it can finally do that, and if it can finally break above this region, and very obviously essentially turn it back into support, that would be very, very bullish, right? That to me would be very, very bullish. I think the stock can actually really make a nice move higher from there, and that's where we can start looking at the daily time frame a little bit more seriously, I guess you can say. Which then will be really, really good for the stock, because then it really starts to put into it makes the possibility of the stock to finally exit this very large downward channel that it's been in for weeks upon weeks, months upon months, even at this point, a breakout actually something feasible, something worth talking about, right? It actually becomes something worth even mentioning, because right now it's not, super worth mentioning. It's not really showing those signs just yet, but I do believe if it breaks above that kind of 111 to 114 region, yeah, okay, now that actually becomes a possibility. Now the stock can potentially finally make its way higher. And if it can break above this, which again is, depending on when it happens, pretty much the low 120s, that's when I think the stock most likely will really start its move and really head higher and really finally start making a bullish return in terms of just overall momentum, sentiment, etc. This will most likely not happen until some, the tariffs get eased or canceled or the China deal happens, whatever the case may be. But I do believe that that is going to be very, very bullish for the stock if this actually happens and if this actually plays out as such. But that's to the upside. To the downside, what does the downside look for NVIDIA? Well, that's assuming, of course, we head lower from here. So essentially, if we lose today's low, we most likely make our way back down to about the 96s, lose 96 to 95. Then we definitely head lower to my overall lower target, which I mentioned is still technically a possibility, especially while we're below $100 per share, which is that lowest point in the Fibonacci is closer to about $92 per share. So in other words, if we lose 95 to 96, 92 becomes a very real target. At that point, it could find an actual major bottom there instead, right? Whether it's here or whether it's down here, right? Depends on the Fibonacci's, right? Currently, we're dancing around the 618 Fibonacci, which could be that level, right? We could be the level that it, bounces from. That is a possibility, but you can't fully discount the one down here just yet, in my opinion, especially while we remain below $100 per share. That's just the way I look at it, right? That's just the way I'm eyeballing it. Now, obviously, with that being said, if we end up losing this low over here at about $87 per share, well, that's pretty bullish. A bit bullish. That's pretty bearish, I should say, right? So we'll see how that plays out, because there is a potential that this could just be a massive double bottom, right? Which on the daily chart would kind of coincides with the bottom of this channel once again, and that could double bottom there. So, but this really hinges on 96 to 95. If we lose 96 to 95, in my opinion, all bets are off. The stock most likely makes its way lower, at least in the short term, which then it can still look for a potential massive bottom. It's just we're still clearly bottom fishing. We haven't really found it just yet if we lose that 96 to 95-ish region. And that's just the way I look at it. But I also, like I said, if we do lose this kind of 86-ish region, 86, 87, and we drop below this region, then we potentially even risk falling out of this channel to the downside, which I don't see happening personally, at least as of right now. That would have to be really, really bearish. But it's technically not impossible in this kind of market. I don't think it's going to happen personally, but it's not something you should completely disregard as well. So that's the way I'll be looking at NVIDIA moving forward for the next, days, even weeks, arguably. And the last thing we'll talk about briefly, of course, is the weekly time frame. The weekly time frame is still the one that's kind of haunting the stock a little bit. Part of me is like not even sure how much I want to look at it like this anymore. I don't like the fact that it's dancing around this area this much, but it still looks pretty valid. So this is another reason why I said if NVIDIA can break above 111 to 114 and actually meaningfully break above it on, I told you on the 1 hour time frame, the daily time frame, it's looking pretty good. That's also because it makes the weekly look pretty good, because then the weekly time frame, if it breaks above, actually gets back into this massive red rising channel, and that would be really bullish. That'll finally get back into it. That'll finally, start potentially showing that it wants to break above this kind of, kind of almost wedge-like structure with these white trend lines you can see there. And that, that would be, if you're someone that's really patient and you really want to enter in some real confirmation, at the very least, to break above that 111 to 114 region would be that, range, if you will. Anything around here, there's definitely higher risk. You can get a better entry if it actually does end up happening, but there's a little bit of more higher risk, in my opinion. So that's why for me, it looks okay. It looks okay here. I did actually sell my positions I bought yesterday, and I'm kind of observing. I pretty much sold at exactly the price it sold at or closed at. And I'm just kind of watching. I'm kind of, I'm not in a huge rush here. I actually am holding AMD from yesterday at like 83 or something like that, and that's kind of the one I'm leaving just in case, because I actually like the way AMD is looking. I'll give you guys a little bonus here. This is what I shared with my members yesterday, actually. But the AMD, check it out. Weekly time frame, massive weekly support, right? It's bounced off of this weekly trend line many times over. Even more interesting is this on the monthly. Let's go monthly, make it a little bit more, digestible, right? This is a bonus chart. The monthly chart, you can see here, right? Very similar correction, both of these. Look at these. Tell me this doesn't look the same. And just because, check it out. From the top of this region over here to the bottom of the correction, how much did it drop? About 66%, right? 66.5%, 66%, 66 to 67%, something like that. Let's take a look at what the region is here. How far did it drop so far from this recent all-time high, all the way up here at 227, all the way down 286, roughly where it was, or whatever the case may be. 66.5 to 67 as well. Exact same drawdown, looks almost the exact same as well. So I'm just saying, hey, that's looking pretty good. So we'll see how that plays out moving forward. AMD has been known to be the advanced money destroyer. Maybe we'll still continue to be that. But I look at AMD as, as long as it remains above 80, it's not looking too bad, which of course can be good for NVIDIA as well if AMD finally decides to rocket, and that mostly the whole sector will like to do that as well. But yeah, that's all I got for you. Let me know what you think down below. Thanks so much for watching. See you tomorrow. Peace.